So part of our What's in a Boiler series, we now come to the heart of the heating system. Could be a little bit contradictory of what the heart is, could be the heat exchanger, but let's just say that it is the circulating pump. Without this, the hot water within the system would not be circulated, so it wouldn't reach the areas that it needs to reach. Now, this is a typical pump that you would find inside your boiler. So you might hear us call it a pump, circulating pump. There's a lot of misconception. They go, oh yeah, I've got one of them, and then they point to the shower pump in their airing cupboard. This is the circulating pump. It is in your boiler, or it could be externally, just like here. You could have an external pump. Predominantly they're red or black, you may find. There's a few silver ones out there, but this is roughly what they overall look like, with a few more other gubbins on there as well. So what is a circulating pump? So a circulating pump is the heart of the system that is going to help push the water around your heating system, to radiators, to underfloor heating, to hot water cylinders. So in this scenario, we've got my great artistic skills. It's most probably why I'm a plumber and not in any other industry that involves drawing. So we've got the boiler here that could be up in the attic, could be in an airing cupboard, could be downstairs in your kitchen, wherever it be, and inside you'll have a pump, or you might have one externally in an airing cupboard near your hot water cylinder, or somewhere else on the pipework. So you have a flow and you have a return. So in here we have the pump, and that's going to push the hot water that the boiler creates. So that's another misconception as well, that the boiler itself creates a hot water that then gets diverted to the source that you want the heat. So be it your hot water cylinder or your radiators. The pump then pumps that water down a flow pipe. The flow pipe then decides where it's going. That's controlled by external devices. So we've got a branch here that goes to a hot water cylinder, and inside the hot water cylinder is a coil that heats up the cold fresh water around it, or it diverts through the radiators. Then you have a return pipe, which is the job once the pump has pumped the water around your heating system. The return pipe delivers back the cooler water ready for the boiler to heat it up, and then the pump to do its job again and push it along. The pump's relatively simple. You have a wheel in the back that helps the propulsion of the water, or propelling the water around the system. This is done by magnets that are inside on a coil that makes that spin. Now the beauty about a pump inside your boiler is that it can be a lot more efficient in many cases on modern boilers, because they modulate and they adapt their speed. So they have a modulation and adaptation of speed depending on the demand on the system. So this pump can then variable speed. It can decide on the speed that it needs to deliver the water to make it go quicker in the amount of litres per minute around the system, or slow down so that it can recover the temperature and send it out in a different speed. So they speak to the boiler, or the boiler speaks to the pump, and then can vary the speed in how it pushes the water around the building. That can make a huge difference on efficiency. If you've got an external boiler, an external pump, then that speed is dictated by the installer or yourself by a speed on the side of the pump that you select. There are some automated pumps that have a variable or an automatic litres per minute in them, and they are few and far between depending on what's been chosen, and obviously the additional cost for them. But there are some auto pumps that can set the speed. Now, the important bit if my pump's broken, the boiler won't work. That's not always the case. The boiler doesn't know as such if your pump is broken, if it's external. If it's internal, depending on how the boiler is configured, it may come up with a fault. Predominantly a flow fault or low pressure fault can occur. And that could be down to you've got low pressure, or your pump's not delivering the water away. If you've got an external pump, then the boiler might not know that there's an issue. And what it'll do is it'll cycle, it'll turn on and off constantly, not delivering anything, or very little. You may find that you've got warm hot water, or you may find that some of the radiators on the upper floors of your property are lukewarm or heating up because hot water rises, so you get a gravitational pull. So that hot water heats up, it wants to go somewhere, so it naturally draws up the pipework to your highest radiators, and then naturally sucks in the colder water back to the boiler, and you get a little bit of a natural cycle that isn't that efficient, and your ground floor radiators will remain cold. So some faults is that you may find to know if you've got a problem with your central heating pump is exactly that. You might find that some radiators upstairs heat up and downstairs don't. You may find that you've got hot water but you haven't got heating, or you may find you've got some heating but you haven't got hot water. It all depends about where your cylinder's located. If the cylinder's right next to the boiler, then the pump might be strong enough to pump round that cylinder because it's the least resistance, but it won't have enough power to push around your heating system. It's very much misdiagnosed actually with people changing two-port valves thinking that it's a two-port valve issue, that you don't have heating but you have hot water, when actually it's a low faulted pump. It might become noisy, you might hear it rumbling. The shaft, this shaft here might actually be seized, so it's seized in the shell of the pump, and then that can't spin anymore. I don't know if you can see in there, there is some magnets all around the side that then pulse that round, and then that makes that spin, and that's how you get the propulsion of water. I've gone to systems that have actually had the pump in the wrong way round. How that's worked, I'm not entirely sure. Water's leaked because the pump's been put in upside down. Now that will still work, but water can leak from other components, go in there, fry the little board that's in there, and then you get faults. Other faults that you get with a pump. So we've talked about noise, it not circulating, dirty systems. Now, dirty systems are a huge cause of pump failure. The waterways in here are not very big at all. The shell that this sits in, I haven't got one here to show you, but the shell that this sits in can become very convoluted with muck and dirt and grime, which prevents the wheel from spinning. So that's when your system is sort of in a degradation stage where a power flush is most probably needed, or a chemical flush to clean that system so that the pump can run freely. Heavy resistance from that soiling in pipework radiators, so actually the pump, whatever speed it's on, just can't produce enough force to get around the system to get a good circulation. That's another big issue. Air, so if you have an open vented system or a boiler that's maybe on a top floor and the water constantly drops down, then they can run dry and then they seize, and again this thing will stop spinning. So the seizing of a pump as well. And then general age, wear and tear, sadly, as all of us, a bit like my knees, they start wearing and tearing, and then they need to be replaced. So circulation pump, heart of your boiler, might be on the outside but heart of the system still. It circulates the water around your heating system as a whole, so hot water heating, and then gets that delivery of hot water that your boiler has created to keep you nice, warm and cosy and enjoy them hot showers. Any questions, pop them in the comments below. If this blog and video was helpful, let me know. If I've missed something that you think that might be helpful, then I am always up for some critique, and I could always redo the video again as much as I enjoy them. Thank you very much. I hope you find it helpful. What's inside your boiler? Pump.